Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. The webinar we're doing today is how to critique your website. So let's get started. So a little bit about me. I am the art director at ResNexus. I have over 10 years design experience in both web and print design. I shot a 40 on 9 holes of golf. Pretty proud about that. And then I manage the ResNexus website team here. When I'm not designing, I'm smoking meats, golfing, or out riding. I actually like to flip off-road vehicles, so I'll just buy and sell them, ride them around for a little bit, and then turn around and sell them. It's fun for me. My wife gets kind of annoyed by it because there's always something new in the garage, but it's pretty fun. Some things we're going to go over today are images and color, typography, your website is for your customer, not you, content versus good content, the website process, and our website product. So do images and colors matter? Short answer, no. Just kidding, of course they do. A big thing we see as the website team is properties that aren't using photography well to tell their story. One of the best investments you can make is professional photography. And if you don't have it in your budget to do professional photos, your phone can take amazing photos now. Most iPhones, even within the last 5 years, take great pictures and are a great thing to use. You want to make sure you're using high quality photos as well. For your website, you want to make sure that they're high resolution. When you get good quality photos, it makes a huge difference. We'll actually go into that later on, where we'll show the differences in the exact same website layout, and then we show good photos versus bad photos. This can be the difference between a beautiful website and one that underperforms in bookings. It's also better to have images on your homepage rather than videos due to Google's new speed test requirements. If you have a large video file on your website, I would suggest moving it to another page and just using a photo instead. And in our builder, we optimize our photos automatically to WebP images to cut down on size and make them load faster. If you don't have a ResNexus website, it'd be good to check with your website provider to see if they can change those over to increase your website page load speed. Some color tips are use around 3 colors, no more than 5. In our builder, we only allow 5, and most of the time we don't even use that many. Do research on your industry, location, and voice. Some places you can use to find colors if you don't know how to pick them out or aren't great at picking color, you can get on Google, Pinterest, or other color palette sites. And then be aware of ADA. Just because you think it looks good doesn't mean it's ADA compliant. There's free sources to check ADA. That's something that we check with every website we create. Here's the layout with images, what I was talking about before. So you'll see the one on the left has these really nice, vibrant photos. And the one on the right is the exact same layout, exact same background, everything. But when you compare them side by side, I mean, obviously the left looks a lot better. So it's amazing what good quality photos that are relevant and match your theme can do for a website. So everything feels consistent and just pieced together. And it's just really effective storytelling on the left and not so much on the right. This is an example of a site that uses color allowance well. It uses less pink to make it stand out, and you can see the color palette choices they selected and how much they're using each one. And the one on the right shows the same types of colors, but it shows how you can use the colors wrong. They're really emphasizing on that hot pink that just doesn't blend well with anything else on the site. So you want to use that selectively. So even having similar colors from a site that, say you like a site that you found and you want to use their same colors, you want to make sure that you're using them the same way they are if you like that look and if it is appealing to the eye. Color allowance. Not only use colors that look good together, but beware of how much of the color you're using with that pink before. In this example, it's the red, so the red would be your button. So it's what your eyes are drawn to. It's the first thing you notice, and then you look at everything else around it. So that would be your Book Now button on your website. Next, we're going to talk about typography. So the font you're using can say a lot about your brand. Are you formal, rustic, casual, contemporary, elegant? What is your font saying about your brand? So there's 2 types of fonts. You have your headline fonts, and then you have your body text. So headline fonts are going to be display fonts. You usually only use them for a few words. They stand out but aren't easy to read in paragraphs, so you definitely want to use these more for just sparingly. They're more decorative, and body fonts are what your text is going to be. This is going to be your paragraphs. This should pair well with your display font. You should really be aware of thickness and readability. Usually a sans serif in web and a serif in print is best. And the difference between a serif and a sans serif is, if you look at the body text in this slide that says body text, you'll notice they have the little lines coming off each of the letters. Those are serifs. And then if you look at Roboto, there's nothing coming off of it. So that's a sans serif font. So you want to try and use fonts that don't have the serifs, just so they're easier to read on your website. This is a good example of how we use font pairing on ResNexus.com. We've got a couple different fonts here, and then we use different weights of that font to show hierarchy. So they feel consistent and pair well together. I would always suggest, if you're going to pick fonts, find something with lots of weights so that you can use that same font, because the font will match better with the font that it already is, and just throw some different weights in there, and then you don't have to go through trying to match up multiple fonts. So a little typography cheat sheet: use 2 fonts, in rare cases 3, and maybe not even 2, maybe you just use one with multiple weights. Think of readability. Just because it looks cool, or you have some pirate room and you're like, I want this room to have a pirate font, it's not necessarily going to read well to the user, to where they might just leave your site because they can't read the page. You want to give your text space to breathe. So you actually want to have good white space, and then you want to have images that break out that space as well. And then select fonts that have several weights. We went over that. And don't be lazy. Just don't pick Helvetica or Arial or something like that. Those can work well in some cases, but go through and find some good fonts that you like that are going to make your brand stand out on your website. So this is an example of ResNexus uses color allowance and color palettes. Notice the photo matches the colors. And then notice with the font pairing as well, so everything just blends and looks well together, and it looks like it's part of a brand. And even though this picture is darker, we're still using the same color palette. We have gold in there just sparingly, and then we even pull colors from the image to match with the brand. So we have the gold in the pencil, we have the red in the notebook, and the tans from the desk. And then we tie those in with our colors on the website. So one thing to remember is that your website is for your customer, not for you. You want to make sure that you build a brand to help your customer guide through your website so that they feel like they're going to the same place throughout your whole website. Some steps to build your brand or positioning: are you the bargain brand or more exclusive? You have to decide where you want to be positioned in the market. Knowing your audience, who do you appeal to versus who do you think you do? So sometimes some A/B testing might even work to figure out who's actually coming to your property, who's looking at booking a room at your property. And then personality: is your brand fun-loving, luxurious, country, beach bum? Have a personality that will attract that audience. And then visual brand: make sure you have the cues that show it. Also, don't write you to death. Like, you shouldn't have to write what your brand is. They should just know what it is by looking at it. And this isn't easy to do, and that's why having a company design your website for you, and even marketing agencies to build your brand for you as well, are good things to have done before even opening, to just make sure you have those things in place. It's going to help you be more successful. So to go along with building your brand, a big part of that is storytelling. So we're going to go into that, and I have a little video to watch that goes along with storytelling.
هذا المخيم صح؟ دي مرة
So what is this story telling? What is Apple trying to tell you with this about their product? Notice it doesn't just zoom in on the product. It doesn't list a bunch of features about the phone. It doesn't say anything like that. It shows what the phone can do. It shows what the phone is. It shows what that lifestyle is. It makes you want to go maybe buy that phone and use that phone to do something similar, go out and record it. It makes you want to get out and do something. So, and it's telling that whole story with imagery, colors, and just a little bit of music. And there's no voiceover, there's nothing like that. There's hardly any text in it. So you can do that with your brand. It's really difficult to do, but it can be done with the right set of people and the right tools. And another thing to take into consideration too is they did all this on an iPhone, which is what I was saying before with photography. So if they can go and shoot a video like this on a phone, you can definitely take pictures of your space just by looking up different angles and ways to shoot it. So this is definitely a video to give some sort of hope to the tools that you have and can readily have your hands on to be able to use to make something for your property. If you don't have that in your budget to pay somebody to do, it's something you can definitely do yourself. And it's a great example of how you can make a really cool brand and a story with something so simple that everybody has in their pocket. So the nuts and bolts of visual brand are voice, logo, fonts, color, and imagery. You have to know your voice. How does your logo show your voice? And then use fonts that can feel consistent with your voice. It's all about tying everything together. The colors, make sure that those all relate with your voice and your logo. And what imagery you're using. Do they feel consistent? Storytelling, like with the Apple video. How is your website telling a story? Is your website telling it accurately? If your website is telling your story poorly, your customers are going to see that, and chances are they might leave after that. So you want to have something that hooks them in, makes them stick around and check out your whole website. Look at your rooms, look at everything. Just make everything feel consistent. So to go along with storytelling, everything should go back to branding. Is your site easy to navigate? You need to use call to action buttons to engage your user. Use a grid layout with your content, so we read left to right, so make sure it matches that. And then use imagery to give the viewer a break from text. Most sites that have too much information aren't using hierarchy and it's difficult to consume. So people feel lost, they don't know where their eyes should go, and you usually get a higher bounce rate. So one thing that's free that not a lot of companies use is social media. Your website's really only one component of your online brand. Think of a food truck, for example. If a restaurant had one location, it would only serve certain people. If it had food trucks associated with it, it could go to several locations. Your social media is like a food truck. It can reach several audiences and it's free. So it's like having a fleet full of food trucks out there that are free that you're not utilizing. The hard truth as a business owner is you can't see the label from inside the bottle. Sometimes we can be too inside in our business that we can't objectively judge our website. One of the big things you can do is just trust your designers, trust your users, and trust your RCPs. Try and have some friends or family or somebody that can give you an honest opinion go through your website and ask them if it's actually easy to navigate. Can they figure out how to book a room? Can they figure out how to even just find different pages on your website? If you can go through that and get honest feedback from people, it's going to help compared to you just doing it, because you've probably looked at your website so much that you're just used to seeing the errors and you're not going to notice them. Even as designers, we have 2 or 3 people even look at a website before it goes live because we spend so much time looking at it. And you should be doing the same thing. Whether you're using an agency or ResNexus to design your website, you should still have somebody double checking for broken links, things like that. There's always going to be something that's missed. So the more eyes that you can have on it, the better. So we're going to talk about content versus good content next. Content and design are equally important. If your site has tons of content and no images, people are probably going to leave pretty fast, making your bounce rate increase and causing your website to rank lower. Having relevant content is key to SEO. Make sure your copy is easy to digest. Break up text with imagery, icons, banners. Use hidden pages when needed. Adding content periodically will boost your SEO. H1s are used to tell Google what's most important on the page and most relevant. It's the first thing Google reads when trying to rank your website. So it's important to use H1s that are the main topic of that page to make sure the users end up in the right place. Another big thing about content is where to put it. So hierarchy, if everything's important, then nothing is important. So you want to make sure that you have the most important things first, and then as the things get less important, maybe it's a smaller text, it all goes in with sizing, it goes in with weights, everything ties into everything. Here's a great example of hierarchy. It's funny, the first time I saw that, I mean, your eyes do exactly what it is telling you to. You read the big one first, then that one, and then the smaller fonts as they go down. How to create hierarchy. So how do you do it? You have size, you have visual weight, you have color, and proximity. And you need to make sure you're putting things where people are going to look for them if you want them to find them. So this is a really great example of how they're using everything: hierarchy, proximity, everything to go along with everything we've talked about. Visual weight, size, the images are great. All the different photos feel like they're in uniform. Just a really nice, clean example. Here's another example of how ResNexus uses hierarchy. So you can see where your eyes are drawn to. They're using people with their eyes looking at you, so you get pulled into that. They have the different weights of fonts, everything like that. So next I just want to talk about the website team. So in case you are wondering what our process is and who we are. So this is our team. We have 3 designers, 2 writers, 2 SEO/DNS members, and 2 support team members. And then we have a dedicated tech as well. So our process is a 6-step process. You can kind of compare this to fixing up an old car. So step 0 is we get your domain set up, we organize your pages, check domain authority, and we look for what pages are performing the best and which ones need improved. We actually go through and even look at pages and see which pages can be combined to make them rank better with Google. Say you don't have a lot of stuff on your About Us, but you have some contact information too. So we can almost pair those two together to just give more information on the same page, so your users don't have to go through and look at so many different pages to get information that could all be in one place. And then step 1 is research and design. So this is where you do your kickoff call. You have we'll talk about colors, logos, discuss kind of what you're after, maybe have you give us some examples of other sites you like. Step 2 is website demo. So we present what we came up with. We're excited to show our ideas. We get a game plan in place for how you want the project to turn out. So this is kind of where we'll show you a home page. So we'll create the home page, show you that. And then if you like that and you like where we're going, then we'll complete the rest of the site based off that design and style. And if you have some suggestions to make, we'll go through and change that and then start adding that towards the rest of the site. Step 3 is SEO content. So this is the power of the website, how traffic comes in and keeps the website going. Google keyword search, check for top attractions and dining. So we'll go through and just make sure everything's running right, make sure that we get everything put in place to make sure your website does great when it goes live. Step 4, this is where we go through and check. So your website's almost done. We've gone through, we've written the content, we've got the website built mostly, and now we're going through and checking for paint errors, broken links, make sure ADA is good, check SEO and metadata, check redirects, logo and favicon added. So we just want to make sure everything's there. We want to make sure everything's working right. And then step 5 is final presentation. So this is something, so we've built the site and now we're bringing it to you. You've seen it along the way, and this is where you finally get to see the real reveal. You get to see the fresh coat of paint on the car and then get the last finishing touches. Maybe you'll have a few little tweaks left. And so then we go into the next step, which is my approval. So I go back through and double check everything. At this point, it's already had probably 3 other team members go through and look at the site for errors, but I just want to go back through and just check just little things that could have been missed, little links or anything like that. And then step 6 is we take your website live. It's ready to hit the road and get traffic coming in. We'll then train you on how to use the website builder so you can make updates on your own. So you can go back through, and maybe later on if you need to change some text or swap out a photo, you'll be able to go in and do that. And then some of our website products that we offer, there's actually a lot of clients that don't even know we offer websites. So we do have 4 website packages. We have the template, the custom, custom pro, and custom complete. And the main difference between these, the template, it is based off a template. So you'll pick one of our many templates. We have quite a few to pick from. And then we'll build your website off that template. So we'll go through and swap images. We can change the colors. We can change headers, footers, things like that. If you want to get into more a custom build to where you want the website to be unique and really stand out from other websites out there, you'd go with one of our custom packages where we'll completely build it from the ground up. We'll go through and we can add all sorts of components and things like that. And then along with all of these packages, you're going to get content. So you'll be getting SEO articles. So with the custom, you get 2, the custom pro, you get 10, and the custom complete, you'll get 20. And these prices are actually really low compared to the competition out there, and that we're just trying to make sure our customers can get the most bang for their buck. And with these, we feel like they can really get that. You'll end up, if you get the custom complete, you'll end up getting a website that has almost 30 pages starting out if you're fresh. Then we do offer content packages. So say you already have a website with us, you can go ahead and add content to your website that'll just help you rank even higher. So the more articles you buy, the actually cheaper they get. So I think the 30 article pages ends up being about $90 a page. If you just were to buy 1 to 9 pages, they're $150. So as you go up, the prices drop the further more articles you buy. And then we do offer design services. So say you don't have a brand, we do logos, we do website redesigns too. We even just do single page redesigns. We also do 2D and illustrated maps. Those are really nice for the RV parks and campgrounds, to go through and list the spots, and then we can put that on your booking engine, and then people can pick their spot off the booking engine instead of just a list. So what can you do today? So we've talked about a lot of stuff. Hopefully there's some things in here that you took away, but if you didn't write anything down, here's a few things you could write down. So some of the main things you do, you could have visual consistency with your brand. So maybe go through and just look at your site and be like, does this image really feel like it's part of my brand? Or is this image outdated and it's all pixelated? Maybe I should update it, go take a picture and update that one, and then tell your story more effectively with your imagery. You can find a lot of pictures that are even of your same area on a lot of free sites. So Pixabay, Pexels, Unsplash, Cover is actually for video. They have a lot of good free video you can go on and put in on your website. So you can go and use any of these to really add to your website for free, just to make your website look that much better. Then improve your copy. Add where you need more, and make text digestible where you have too much. We've seen a lot of websites where you just have tons of copy. Just go through and add some images in between them. Things like that can really help it just read better and keep people more engaged. And then if you don't have any social media, or say you only have one, add a couple more, or even add one if you don't have any. Like I said, it's just free food trucks out there that are driving around just helping your brand grow and helping your business be more profitable. And then look for mistakes and dead ends. Try to break your website. Go through your website, click on every button, every link, everything, and just go through and try and break it. See what's wrong with it, because if you don't do it and if you don't find those things, guaranteed one of your customers is going to find it, and then it's going to be a lot less embarrassing to have your customers find it than maybe a friend or family member that can go through and try and break it for you as well. So some other great tools we have to go access more of our webinars and even Suite Exchange is you can go up to Education, Webinars, or Suite Exchange. And then when you go to those, you can get a listing of all these webinars we've done in the past. A really good one that goes along with websites is ADA. So a big one here, there's 2 different types of ADA. There's ADA for your actual hotel and ADA for your website. So ADA for your hotel or B&B is basically, do you have accessible bathrooms? Are you wheelchair accessible with ramps? Things like that. So ADA for websites is different from ADA for your property. On the websites, we were checking things like colors, contrast, alt text, and so on. We have a user way widget on every single website we create to make your website accessible for any disability. All these things need to pass at 100% before your site goes live, and it's always good to run this check after your site is live to not only avoid lawsuits, but to make sure everyone can use your website. We are also happy to check any website for free, whether you have a ResNexus website or if you have a website through a different company. If you want, you can give us a call at 385-292-3572, and we can go through your site with you to check it for ADA compliance and check it for any other things you want us to look at on your website. And then if you have any other questions about ADA compliance, a great webinar to watch is ADA Compliance, A Good Offense is a Good Defense. You can actually just scan that QR code on your mobile device, and it'll take you right to the webinar and you can check it out. And the nice thing about these webinars as well is we actually timestamp them at the bottom. So if there's just a certain section you want to get to, you can jump right to that section in the video. And then if you do have any support questions and you are a ResNexus customer, you can feel free to reach out to any team support by going to your back office and clicking on support. And that'll actually tell you who your RCP is, your red carpet professional, or your RCC, your red carpet concierge, and those will show up right in this area. And you can email them directly or give them a call. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. You can also throw in your URL and we can go over your website live right now if that's anything anybody's interested in. I can run a check on your website for ADA, or I can go through your website and just kind of go over it with you. And then if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to website support if they're regarding your website at the phone number listed, or you can send an email to support@resnexus.com and just put attention websites in the subject line. And if you don't have any products with us, feel free to reach out to sales, and that's their number there. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions now and even go over websites if anybody is interested in that. So while I'm waiting for any questions to come in, I did have one site I wanted to show everybody. This is a site that we write content for. We've been doing it for about a year now, and they've been a great client of ours. They're out in Colorado. So what we do as part of our SEO is we'll go through and write articles. We'll do one a month for different properties, and that helps them rank higher on Google. So the more you're updating your website and the more information you're providing that's relevant, the higher you're going to rank on Google. And a great way to find the keywords, at least if you have a ResNexus website, is in our actual builders, we have Google AdWords built in to where you can actually go and find the keywords and do the research and see what keywords are ranking. You really want to try and pick keywords that are in, so you can see here, average monthly searches, so 122,000. That one's really high up there, so it's going to be hard to get that keyword and to find that organically without paying for that keyword to list. Even Jellystone Park's a little higher. You really want to stay, these are probably okay, you really want to stay between 1 and 100,000 on the monthly searches, just to actually have a chance of getting those and ranking for those keywords. And then what you'd want to do is write your articles based on those keywords. You don't want to jam those in a lot. Google calls it keyword stuffing, where you put just tons of keywords in your body copy, and it just doesn't work. They actually flag that. So you want to still use them naturally and have it feel organic and have it read like a paragraph. And that's what we do in all the articles we write. For instance, on our Ouray Riverside Resort. So we'll go back through and we'll search the top keywords in the area, and then we'll look for what everybody's searching for, and then we'll go through and write paragraphs and little articles on these. And we've been doing quite a few on here. There's a great example to look at and go through. But there's a site we designed that we knocked out for them, and these guys are doing great. It's a really fun property to work with.
Casey, this is Nate. Did you want to look at another website example? Did you want to do a run through of one? Yep, we have one. It's www.yak-ridge.com.
Yeah, so this, let's see, just going through this. So this is my first time seeing this site, but I'm just going to go through and kind of critique it. So the main thing I'm saying is there's the only content on this homepage is just these little blurbs about these individual, the cabins, farmstead, and areas of attractions. I think with this one, I would add maybe more information about the area, even more information about the individual property. I'd go in and maybe you could have a little bit about us that leads to an about us page. There's also these multiple maps are slightly confusing to me. And then the multiple weathers. So we have Keystone and Rapid City. So that almost makes me assume there's two different locations, but it's not super clear from landing on the website that that's the case. So I guess just as an outsider, if I was looking for a place to stay, because I'm not sure where the location exactly, that would be the main thing. As far as the buttons, these are great. They're big and in your face. You immediately go to them. So if you already know you want to stay at this property, you can click book now and probably get to the booking engine right away. Let's see how these pages are here. We'll also run an ADA check on this site as well. So it looks like they do have 2 different locations here, so that makes more sense. Let's see. Let me run an ADA check on their home page, and we'll just see what they're ranking at as well. So to do that, you can go to your own page. You can do a right click, and then you can go to inspect, and then you're going to go to Lighthouse. So you're going to go over these 2 little arrows and go to Lighthouse, and then you're going to do accessibility and desktop and hit generate report. And then that actually goes through and checks the site for ADA for website issues. So that's checking things like contrast, where your H1s are located, things like that. So this got an 83. You want to see it in green, and that's 90 or above. Ideally, 100% is the best. But there are some things in builders that sometimes cause that to fail that are just the way it's laid out. So this is saying the failing elements are, looks like there's looks like it's just the way this is laid out in this one. So they don't have associated labels. So that's something in their builder. So that it would be an issue caused by their actual builder they're using. And then they do have some contrast issues here. So the background and foreground. So these won't pass on an ADA reader. So the way that these are laid out. So if somebody was, say, colorblind, they actually might not be able to even read that phone number. So that's something you want to make sure that you pick the right colors. And like I said before in the presentation, just because you think it looks good doesn't mean it's going to pass ADA. And they actually do have quite a bit of contrast. Looks like it's that white and green. That's why it's important when you pick your colors to begin with, pick colors that you know are ADA compliant. So what they did is they picked a green and white that they liked. They really like this green color, and they assumed, well, this will pass ADA because, I mean, it looks like it should, but it's not passing. So almost every spot on their site now is failing because of that green color they chose. So that's why you really want to make sure when you're picking colors to pick the ones that are actually past ADA. Looks like this is, so this is what I was talking about, the H1s. So with the way they laid out their H1s, H2s, H3s, those are your headings. A lot of people think those are just for sizing your fonts, but it's actually, like I said before, how Google reads your website. So first they're going to read the H1, then the H2, then the H3, then the H4. So without getting into their builder, I would assume what they did is they set an H1 and then they jumped and just set an H3, and they never actually set an H2. So this text should probably be an H2, or they just don't have an H2 anywhere on the page and they just added an H3 in there. They probably just weren't maybe paying attention to which ones were in there. It looks like those are the only things in there. So overall, it's not a bad score. Just a couple little things. Honestly, changing that green color would probably get them into the 90s. And all they really need to do is probably just go with a little darker green, and that would fix everything there. But overall, yeah, it's a good looking site. It's clean, but I would just add some more content. Maybe make this a little more clear that there's multiple properties. I like the reviews, and then the booking widget down at the bottom. That's always good to have multiple buttons, calls to action. So we can check availability here. We can book now here. And then this is kind of cool too. You can have the search, but I'd maybe even put another book now button up top as well. So just so it's always as you're scrolling the page. So maybe another one up in here, just so there's always one, no matter where you're at on the website, that there's a call to action. On ResNexus, I think our home page had, I think it was like 60 buttons on our home page alone. So you just always want people, when they're ready to book out, to book now, to just have that option available right away.
Great. Casey, we had another question come in. What's the turnaround time to get a site revamped and to go live if you already have a site as a ResNexus user? So I don't know if they're saying that they're already a ResNexus subscriber or they already have a site with you, but if they were just to get a website remodel, what's the typical turnaround time?
So to start it right now, we do have tons of requests. So we are a little backlogged. To get the site started, I'd say about 2 to 3 weeks. And then after that, it all depends on the client. So realistically, if the client had everything in mind that they wanted changed and they had an idea of exactly how they wanted their site to be, and if they had updated images ready, updated content, everything like that, we could turn around in a week. But if they don't have all those things ready, it can sometimes take, 2, 3 weeks, maybe even a month, just depending on how fast the client can get it back to us. But usually when we're ready to start on their website and they're next in line, we can knock it out in a week if both parties are ready and ready to go. So.
Perfect. Thanks, Casey.
Yep.
It said that this individual is using Squarespace. How would you compare ResNexus's website builder to the likes of Squarespace or, Wix or some of the others that are out there?
Yeah, so Wix and Squarespace, they're great platforms to build on. They do have a lot of limitations. So there's a lot of things you can't do in them, and that's the same with every builder. I mean, not every web builder can do everything, and that's why some sites are completely custom coded. But as far as comparing it to the ResNexus one, I know I've used Squarespace and Wix both, and in the ResNexus builder, we have a lot more header options, we have a lot more footer options, and we have a lot more customizations available. So just overall, just getting into it, there's just more customability in it. The big thing is just learning a new builder. So if you're used to a Wix or a Squarespace, it's going to be another learning curve to learn our builder. So that's the biggest thing, is just learning another builder. But other than that, I'd say once you get into it and you figure it out, you'll catch on pretty quick that it's quite a better builder. So,
And our support is always available. So that's
yeah.
nice.
So that's the great thing. So we'll do, after we take your website live, we'll go through and train you on how to use it. And if, say, we train you on it, you fix the thing you want to fix, and then 3 months down the road, you're like, oh, I want to change something else, but I forgot how to use the builder, just call us again and we'll take you through another training, walk you through, and we'll fix that with you live so that it's hands-on and you'll actually feel like you're learning as well, and then you'll remember again. Or a lot of things, if it's just little changes, you can even just send an email to our support and they'll just go in and fix it for you too. So
Maybe we could do one more website assessment. Could you look up Misty Mountain Camp Resort.com?
okay. Just first look, so they call this a parallax feature. So that's where the background stays as you hover over. That's a cool feature. A lot of new websites are doing that. I wish the images, and this is probably my screen. I'm really widescreen right now, but still, even there, I wish the hero image was a little taller. And I feel like this text is taking over a lot of that image on each slider here. So that would be the only thing. It's also kind of hard to read that white text over the images, and it looks like they put a black transparent background over the image as well, but it might just need a little more. Let's see. I really like this, but the same thing there too. I wish that image was just a little taller. Long distance trails. These are great. So these are articles they've written that they're taking to their articles. The only thing I just noticed is the M in Monticello isn't capitalized. So just stay, I mean, it's a city, so that needs capitalized. Also, you also want to, throughout your website, is if you're capitalizing every first letter, you want to follow that through your entire website as well. So not only because it's a city, but even if it wasn't a city, it's also the first letter in the sentence. But this one's great. So I love how tall this one is. I would almost have that height on all three of those. It just looks sharp. I really like the this little pattern they're doing on the bottom of it as well. I think this as the very first up here would be a way stronger landing than the one that's currently there. Let's run an ADA check on this as well. I'm curious about this blue on the white. It looks a little too light. Yeah, so we've got, I wonder if that was it, the blue. So it is this bluish and gray color. So that is failing the ADA. So that would be one, and you can almost tell just by looking at it. It's hard to read that blue on top of the white. So that would be one. Just make it a little darker blue. Choose a dark blue instead of a light blue, and that would fix that problem, because we're getting those failing elements throughout the entire one right there. And then this one, so it says user scalable is used in the meta viewport element of the, okay, so that would be something their builder as well. Heading elements, so this is the same one we had on the last one. So heading elements are not in a sequentially descending order. So you want to make sure not only with your H1s, H2s, and 3s, but to put them in order. So H1, H2, H3 as they go down the page. So these aren't really what's causing this 66 mainly. The main thing causing this 66 are those colors. So I think the same thing here, if they were to go through and update that light blue to a darker blue, they would probably be closer in the 80s, maybe even 90s with this one.
So Casey, we had another question come in from
Yeah.
Nathan. I'm curious, what if they were to use an ADA widget instead of the lighthouse? Maybe you could demo that. Is that on ResNexus.com or another site?
Yeah, so you can go through and change the color. It looks like, unfortunately, they don't have an ADA widget on this site. We can go to ResNexus.com. I can show you how the widget works. So if you go down to the widget here, so on all our sites, we put these in. They might be in the bottom right, they might be in the top left. We try and keep them in the bottom just so they're out of the header, so we're not adding more things in the header to jumble things up. But all you do is click on this, and then you can adjust the contrast on a site. So you can invert them, you can do dark contrast, light contrast, and it'll help it so it's more readable to anybody who has sensitivities to colors. You can highlight the links, so that'll go through. So if you notice the buttons, so it's actually going to go through and put even more highlight on them for somebody who maybe can't see them as well, or just wants to be able to find the buttons quicker. You can make bigger text. You can do line spacing, so it'll space out the words even more. You can pause animations. So this is going to stop like that background video from going. It's going to pause any little motions or animations that are happening at all within the website. Then dyslexia friendly. So if you do have dyslexia, this actually makes it so you don't see any numbers or letters switch. And then legible fonts, cursor, this will make your cursor bigger. There's all kinds of tools in here that are great and what help with that. So if you do have a site that, if your site isn't passing, I know UserWay, you can get free ones to download on your site. If you have a website with us, you have that already. If you don't have a website with us, that'd be a great thing to ask your provider about, whoever services your website, to go in and use those. So get those applied to your site.
Thanks, Casey. I think we had one last website come in. If you wouldn't mind looking at one more. Christine had a question on Fountain Motel wi.com.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. So just right off the bat, there's just not much. There's not much going on here, so there's not a lot of content. The background just feels a little dated. A lot of websites just aren't really doing that anymore. They like to use big images. That'd be the main thing, is big, bright images that fill the screen. It looks like the information, just from looking at it right here, let's see, and there are quite a few articles here as well, but the articles are lacking. So I'd say the idea here is great. So you've got your things to do, festivals and events. I would almost take each one of these and turn those into articles on your website as well. Obviously, don't copy and paste information from those event pages on the other websites, but rewrite them here and talk about maybe the next one that's coming up. So like, get ready for this. The idea is to let them find that information on your website and not have to go somewhere else to find it. So if they can get all the information from your website and never leave, first of all, it's going to help your bounce rate, but also it's going to show Google that you're more of a trusted site that people actually are using and staying on longer than maybe 30 seconds. Because say they come here and they're like, oh, things to do. So within the first, say they land on the page and they're like, oh, I want to find things to do around here, click this. Then they click Prairie Moon. Now they're off your website. That would have been a bounce for your website, even though they found information from your website. Let's run an ADA on this one as well. So 92. So this one's pretty good. I'm guessing. Oh, okay. So it's the gold. So it looks like, is it the more? Yeah. So it's that gold on these links. So if you change that to a darker gold, or maybe even just different color, you could even go darker green. That would kind of match the colors in your website. That would help almost all of these. Looks like they're all doing that. And there's another one down in the footer. Oh, so this vision design group, so that's not passing as well. But yeah, it looks like just mainly we'll color things there. They're easy to fix. and you're already in the 92. So I would say those are going to get you up quite a bit higher. Links do not have a discernible name. So it looks like maybe the alt text in these, it has not been put in because it's all just calling out a line left. So alt text is a big one. So you have your main, what your image name is. Then you have an alt text, which is basically describe the photo. And that helps people who can't see or are using a screen reader or anything like that. Then it actually reads down your screen. It's showing, it can tell them what the photo is and what the photo, what's happening in the photo. So you would say like fisherman, and for the guy holding the fish, and then you'd say man holding maybe a northern pike or something. I'm guessing on the fish there. It looks like a good sized fish though. But that's something you'd want to do. So that way, if somebody is reading it, they can know exactly what's going on, and that can help prevent you from getting sued, because maybe somebody will get on there and they'll say, I didn't understand what was going on the website because you didn't have any alt text on there. And trust me, that has happened. That is a thing that happens pretty regularly. And then heading elements are not in, it's just said, oh my gosh, I can't get that, sequential descending order. So same thing here. So it looks like the widget title here, that one, and this one. So that's an H4 and that's an H4. So it looks like there's probably, it's just the order they're in. So you'd have to go into the builder and rearrange those to make sure they're actually ascending order. And that's about all on here. That's a pretty good one as far as accessibility goes. Just a couple color things. I think if you change those, you'd probably jump closer to 98, 99, getting those color things updated. Overall on the site, I like to look at the about and contact us page, because if there's not a lot of info on these, it's good to combine them together, and then you can make your navigation more simple. So with these two, you could easily put them together. You could have the about just right here above, and then a contact us right below. Accommodations. So I would have, since you have, this is cool. It looks like you've done the 3D tours of your property. These are really cool to do. We see these occasionally, and they are definitely worth the investment. It can put the people just in your property, and they're super high quality. Everything looks good. But the thing with this, I feel like it's restricted. Like we can probably go full screen here, but it'd be cool if the, oh, it looks like it won't let me go full screen. So that'd be something to talk to your web team about as well, because I want to see this take up my full screen. I want to walk through the whole thing. But it's really cool. It's a really nice feature. I would almost have this, I would say virtual tour. If you don't on your home page, I would have something here that says take a virtual tour of our property, and have it link to this page. And then are these on each individual page as well? They are. Cool. Good. Yeah, that's great. So these are perfect. Then your things to do, like I said before. This is a nice touch, guest photos. So this shows a lot of people that have stayed there, builds credibility. Very cool there. The hard thing, so say this was a site that came over to us and they're like, hey, we want you to redesign our site. The hard thing you're going to experience with a lot of the photos in here, if we were to take the photos and bring them into your new site, is they've been formatted for this website. So we would need new, fresh photos, because if I were to take this photo and try and bring it into our builder, we like to use big images. It's only going to come in as this tiny little photo. So when I try and blow that up, it's going to get super pixelated. So that'd be one of the things, is if you did have somebody take pictures of your property, and you still have their contact info, even if you're not thinking about switching websites, always get the raw photos so that you can use those later on if you ever need them in any advertisements or anything like that. So yeah, that's about it on this one. Did we have any other questions come in, Nate?
I don't think so. I know that we saw a couple comments come in. A lot of people are interested. So I think you have a few emails from people just from showcasing your knowledge and background and the features on the ResNexus builder. So that's great. And I think we're coming to the top of the hour anyway. So I appreciate everybody being here and attending the webinar. Yeah, we hope you have a great season. And Casey, thanks for the presentation. It was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. Appreciate it.